Before we get started, a quick word. The Podcast Learning Festival takes place in a couple of weeks on February the 26th at Mary Sumner House in London. It's a day for anyone interested in how podcasting and workplace learning intersect. You'll be alongside creators, L&D professionals and curious practitioners exploring what happens when we move from talking about learning to actually capturing it. Tickets and details are at podcastlearningfest.live and there's a link in the show notes. Now, on with the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode, the hybrid one of the Women Talking About Learning podcast. I'm Andrew Jacobs. The landscape of hybrid work is evolving and, post-pandemic, it moved at pace. This presents both challenges and opportunities around change management, technology and human connection. So obviously we wanted to record an episode about it. Our first guest is Sara Estevez Cores. Sara is a researcher in the Strategy and Entrepreneurship group at the UCL School of Management, where she focuses on the future of work, particularly on the impact of flexible work arrangements on collaboration practices and the influence of workspace design and social norms on organisational behaviour. Our second guest is Valerie Merrill. Valerie is a seasoned training consultant with more than 3 decades of experience designing, delivering and managing learning programmes for a diverse range of clients in both the public and private sectors. Her reputation for excellence is built on a foundation of referral and recommendation, reflecting a career dedicated to customised, impactful training solutions. Our third and final guest is Irma Alici. With over 25 years of expertise across human resources management, healthcare and business leadership, Irma delivers transformational coaching that empowers professionals and executives to unlock their potential in career and well-being. She's dedicated to helping clients leverage relational connectivity and accountability to achieve lasting personal growth and success, plus become their most authentic selves. Recorded in early December of last year, this is Women Talking About Learning. This is Sara, Valerie and Irma talking about hybrid.
Sara, hello. How are you?
Hi, Valerie. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I just thought I'd ask, we've come together today. What brings you today to talk about hybrid work and hybrid learning?
I'm a researcher on hybrid work. So I've seen the benefits of working hybridly because before I started my research, I actually worked in a hybrid format.
Uh-huh.
And I've also seen the struggles with organizations trying to nail hybrid and make hybrid work. Irma, what about you? What brings you today?
Having worked in human resources for now 20 plus years now, I see the conflict that change has, it hasn't been seamless change, has been sudden change in the last 4 to 5 years, mainly because we went through lockdown, and so it intrigues and concerns me that there's so much difficulty, there's so much friction, and I'd love to explore that. Ways in which to make it a seamless change because it is upon us.
So the change, we know because we had lockdown and COVID and the world had to stay at home.
Yes.
That the whole kind of work ethic and hybrid working and belonging and learning, everything just got, all the pieces of the puzzle got thrown up in the air. How do you think we can change that or ameliorate some of that now?
Well, the first thing is that we have to understand hybrid. Hybrid is now the buzzword, the go-to word for this decade. So it's everywhere.
Yeah.
You've got hybrid cars with electric and petrol. You got hybrid food coming into the ecosystem. It's everywhere. And then now we have hybrid working that's been foisted upon community. It's not something that's been chosen. It's something that's just happened. But the change management needs to be inserted in there. It's people saying, oh, let's go with this because I'm comfortable with it. But comfortable, we have to explore what is comfortable, you know, because people have suddenly realized that, hang on, I don't have to work in this, especially the younger generations. I don't have to burn myself out because
Mm.
I've found a different way of actually earning money, because that's the thing, earning money, and also not stressing myself out. That day-to-day grind. If we hark back to Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 song in the 80s, working 9 to 5, yeah,
Yeah.
that has always been the undercurrent in work ethics. That burnout. It's real,
Sarah's itching to get in right now.
yeah, and it's real with women. It's more real with women.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say, so Irma, you mentioned, it's comfortable and it just kind of happened.
Mm,
And in my view, it's more of like it was this middle ground between what a lot of employees wanted, which was more flexibility and more control over
yes,
their time, and what executives want, which is, to be able to see their workforce, to have bumps on seats, to use the real estate they're paying for. So I,
correct.
I kind of see it as this middle point that we reach where the friction that you mentioned is still happening, right? There seems
Yeah.
to be a lot of friction. And a lot of the issues with hybrid, I think, is because we have kind of reached this middle ground, but neither party has really considered how to develop this middle ground properly because they're still trying to pull towards the side they prefer. Valerie, what is your take on that?
Well, I think the thing is that we had no choice when we began, and
Yes.
lots of people were just sent home with their laptops and said, "Get on Teams and Zoom and just get on with it, guys." And yeah, you're right. A lot of people found that had been craving maybe that flexibility, and they did find that life was easier for them, and they could work on different things at different times to suit, childcare, etc., and life generally. So I think it's a really difficult one because the challenge for the business, the organizations are that, you know, they've got to trust their employees that they're doing a good job and that they're committing and doing all the tasks and the performance and the engagement that they want. But they also feel that they actually want people into the office to get more brainstorming, to get better vibe. There's also the whole thing about belonging as a social person. So, you want to belong. You get better performance and increased happiness for the worker as well if they're involved. And don't let me get started on the learning side of this, but I'm going to flip back. Well, who wants to take it next, ladies?
I'll take it. You see, the thing is, there's always change, but when it's managed, then it's easier. This one has not been managed at all. And everybody has said, oh, this is the way to go. This is the way to go. Because, and it's, as you said, Sarah, it's been driven by the younger workforce, you know.
Mm.
But is it benefiting the organizations which they work with? And how does it work with different disciplines? Is hybrid working relevant in the entertainment industry? Is it relevant in the hospitality industry? Is it relevant in the care industry? These are things that need to explore. And if my manager is working hybridly, yeah, a care manager, how do I manage the carers who are hands-on, practical? They can't definitely hybrid work looking after a person. But I don't see my manager, and there's a disconnect, because my manager isn't in the office. That's where the change management hasn't come in.
So there's 2 points you're bringing up there, Irma. One is about, the younger generation driving this. And I think obviously they're more comfortable with technology, right? So they embrace technology a lot more. But I have seen other employees also embrace this for other reasons, right? So
Mm,
I think, a lot of people that have this generational views like, oh, it's a younger generation. And I actually, just based on the interviews I've had with people and the data we've collected, I actually think it's all over the place, because some young people really crave the social connection. They're starting
yeah,
their careers and they want to connect with other people. They want to learn from other people. So they actually want to be in the office. So it's not just the case that, the younger ones are the ones that want to work from home. I think it's actually a little bit more widespread than that. You also mentioned this idea of like different industries having different
hmm
levels of flexibility, right? And I think you're totally right. And this is probably one of the things we're seeing is that inequality has probably increased, because in certain industries, a lot of the work can be done from home. In the knowledge industry, a lot of the work can be done. Like we saw it during the pandemic, right? Most people took a laptop and went home. Whereas
Yeah.
Sure.
the first responders, they had to be there face to face. So I think in a way, this flexibility is now unevenly distributed across organizations. This is certainly the case.
So what are some of the potential solutions then for this inequality? Irma, you're right. How do we've got, the hospitality, the care, the, medical, we've got all those sectors that need to be out facing. How do we solve some of these problems?
It's again, I go back to change management. Change management is a consultative process. It's a experimental process. What works, what doesn't work within our field. Sainsbury's trialed a 4-day working week with their organization. Sainsbury's a huge retail industry. It's a retail industry. They wanted to say a 4-day working week. It was successful, but I don't know if they've fully gone on to implement it or will do, you know. But they trialed that as a way of saying, how do we meet employee needs as well as still function as a successful business? So this is what hasn't been explored, and it has to be done individually with the overarching banner of hybrid, a different way of working, a mixed way of working. The hybrid is mixed, it's a mix of different styles. So, and then change what works with my employee, what works with my industry, what works with my company, what is
Yeah.
what is a happy place. It's not going to go away because the younger workforce, as you said, Sarah, want that flexibility. And then we also have to think
Mm.
of women. When more and more women are coming into the workforce, and I give an example of my niece who had to leave work because she gave birth to her daughter, and a couple of years on, she then found hybrid working. And that worked well
Yeah.
because she was still nursing her little one before going to school. And she said it was such an immense relief for her to find a paying job and still be able to be there for her daughter. So it is significant with
Absolutely.
women. It's significant with women, especially women who have childcare responsibilities, and not to cancel out men as well, because we have the dads as well who, would
We
love to
do.
be
We do.
around their children. I mean, then the younger generation suddenly have a agency with being there for their children. So we have paternity care, paternity leave coming on board, and. But yes, it is about how does this work? How do we mold it to work for us with consultation?
Sarah, what do you think?
Well, I actually wanted to ask you, Valerie, because you were talking about these issues of trust and performance. And I think maybe this is something that organizations are really struggling with. Can you tell us a bit more about your experience with this? Like, what are organizations doing?
Well, it's really interesting. I've got some clients that I work with that have just let people. I mean, they're in IT, so that does help. Okay, and the guys don't want to go to the office anymore, so they've actually given up the office. They've closed the office, which obviously from the profit basis is a good one. So they haven't got that overhead anymore. But and others are demanding that people come in 4 to 5 days a week. So some organizations are allowing them to work Monday and Friday at home. So you've got the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where the cafes and everything and the trains are busy and the buses are busy. But it's a difficult one because you must think about how you recruit in the first place. You want to have people that will do a good job and don't want to be micromanaged and will always deliver, and support each other because it is a belonging. Whether you're using Slack or WhatsApp or any of the tools that are available to us, it's where you've got to try and introduce new things in terms of learning, which is where it becomes, I think, more difficult. Because we don't just want to throw more slop content, slop AI into the mix here. So, and it's easy to do that. So it's really understanding your work. It's back on understanding your workforce and managing the change and looking after everybody, which, because you're not seeing them every day, you're not actually seeing some of the important cues or, you know, the contact that you would get around the water cooler or coffee machine to say how you're doing, hon, you know?
Yeah. So I think there's two interesting things that you mentioned there. And I think this is where maybe a lot of organizations are really getting things wrong. Like this idea of we're going to bring people back, because bringing people back will encourage these water cooler conversations, will encourage the interactions, will encourage connections and this belonging that you were mentioning, right? And actually, we already have research papers that show if you bring people back, but they come to an office where they don't know anyone, you are basically an island
Mm.
amongst people. So, to bring people back, the experience in the office has to be a good experience. And I think there's this, we haven't, like, as a lot of organizations are really not carefully thinking about these things. They're like, we're just going to put everyone back, or we're going to have anchor days, which actually, in my opinion, are terrible, because you're basically crowding the trains and the offices Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Yeah.
as opposed to using your spaces, your physical space and the digital space differently, and really using the physical space to bring people together, to connect them, to build really relationships. And, we're all in learning. So, learning opportunities are an amazing way to create new connections. They're going through this shared experience. So I think organizations have to be a little bit more thoughtful about what do we want to happen in our physical space and how do we connect people across the organization. Irma, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I was going to go flew from you, Sarah, because we again, that physical space, that office space, that workspace, that we need to be redefined. What is an office? Is it relevant to your job? And yes, the human connection is important. We need that. And it is known that the two major places that we spend most of our lives is at home and at work. And now we're merging the physical space of work and home with a hybrid. But we still need to know which is the workspace. We're going to use workspace instead of office, 'cause, and I think that has to be done individually or by company to say yes. Do we then have a coffee meet at the Costa Coffee and meet up with my boss and just have a couple of hours, like in IT, for instance, and then that's the office. That's the office space. A lot of yeah, this cafes and bars now. People go in there and do their work in it. Whole morning all up in it.
It's a simple but important shift, isn't it, Irma? Because if you're gonna go to the office and spend all your time
Yeah.
on Zoom or Teams calls, then that is the biggest waste of time again. I mean, we're trying to get a new platform, a new way of
Yes.
pulling everybody together. Sarah, you're nodding there. What do you think?
Well, it's funny because Irma was talking about this Costa thing. So at my last job, before I moved to doing research on this, we had this leadership training program, and one of the things that we did is we pair people based on their zip code.
Mm.
So you had like a party that was, I mean, we were a large organization, so we obviously had people all over the UK, and we could do this easily. And we had really good feedback, because if you're already living in the same zip code, you probably have a lot of commonalities. There's lots of things you can share, right? And so people would do this. People would actually like go for a coffee on their work from home days and talk about the program, have like a chat. Like, how are
Nice.
you implementing these new things that you're learning? So I really think that there's so much potential in hybrid that is just completely
Yes.
unexplored, because we're so fixated in this. We have to go back to the office because, companies are paying for the real estate and they want to put it to use, but they don't want to invest in modifying that real estate, and it's outdated. It no longer works for the way we are currently working. So I think there has to be a shift in mindset, and I also think there has to be a shift in this physical space, because to our earlier point, right,
Mm.
it is changing. The way we're working and the way we're using the physical space is changing. So we has to be modified to adapt. What are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to say, what can the role of L&D do to help us? Because it is a change of mindset. It is a change of, the employees or team members and staff are valued members and valued for their experience and skill and work ethic. And so we need to be reflecting it and supporting in a smart way, maybe. Smart's not quite the right word, but you know what I mean? We need to be clever.
I think the learning bit is also underscored by technology. What I mean is that technology has actually allowed for hybrid working, ease of hybrid working,
Sure.
and it's like, how do we now learn from that to be able to make it, to find a balance between work strategies and work patterns and also performance, because
Well, I guess it's all tied to what is learning. What does learning mean? I mean, learning in the flow of work.
yeah,
I mean, just having a conversation with you two here, I'm learning from you. Now, I don't get a certificate for it or a star for it or a or a pay rise, but I'm learning from you and I'm loving it.
yes, indeed.
What does learning mean for us?
It's what I also want to flag up is diversity in work strategies is important. So we need to learn that the varied ways. I mean, what Sarah flagged up to say, she had bodies according to your postcode, your street code. That's a learning. That's we can do it this
It
way. Yeah,
is.
and it worked. Did it work? Did it work, Sarah? Was that effective?
Yeah. That we got really good feedback. People connected and people really liked it, because if you have a coffee with someone who's down the street, why would you commute for 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an office? Obviously, not every. I think we're going back to this idea of like what your industry and what your company. I think you're right, Irma. Right? Not everyone can do this, but yes, we're connecting here through a technology platform. Right? The technology has allowed us. I'm in Germany today, so we are connected
Yes.
across time and
Yes.
space at the moment. And I think there is, going back to the question on learning, right? So yes, technology can facilitate learning. I think where some companies are struggling is this tacit learning or in the job learning that Valerie was mentioning, right? The one that we used to learn through osmosis, through sitting together, watching someone else do something. That is much more difficult to replicate in the digital world,
is.
right? Because we're not seeing what the other person is doing. We have to do this. We have to set up a time and decide, we're going to come together and I'm going to share with you what I know and you're going to share with me what you know,
Yes.
right? So it has to be much more intentional. And so I think that's the thing that, maybe I'm repeating myself here, but I think this leaving things to chance, being unintentional about connecting people or helping people develop, no longer works. You have to be much more intentional and you have to be much more considerate of how your digital workspace and your physical workspace can enable this.
That is a downside of this hybrid working, and also underpinned with technology, with the ease that technology allows you to be distant to whoever it is you're communicating with or interfacing with. And I'll give an example, a story, an incident where my son had a meeting with his line manager, and it was it was his annual review. So they needed the presence of the HR officer, whoever it was, representative. And he worked for a large company, very, very large global company, and huge building. The AHR was a couple of floors above, just 2-3 minutes away, walk away from the office where he was having his meeting. And she decided to come in via Zoom to the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in the same building, just a few steps away. So again, it's the balance, finding a balance. How do you then say to her, "Oh, you shouldn't have done that. You should be present in the meeting," since there's no barrier, there's no difficulty to you coming in on the meeting. But she preferred to be on Zoom, and then we've seen cases
It's
like that come.
hard. It's hard, Irma, because she's juggling a lot of other things as well. Perhaps she thought that the appraisal, the review was going to be, very quick, one and done. You're doing a great job. We love you. Here's your new training. And this is your pay rise. Are you happy? Have you got any things you want to talk about? Bye. Bye.
No, but this is an important meeting, and the human connection.
Yeah,
I'm harping at the
absolutely.
human connection, because he came home aghast, thinking how I needed her there. I needed her there physically in the room,
Yeah.
and she wasn't far away, but I wasn't important enough for her to come in on my meeting that had been pre-scheduled and lasted an hour, and she thought it was okay, and she was a central person to this meeting, and she was only a few steps away. But you have that coming up more and more, people defaulting.
I was going to say, isn't that an excuse? We've all got workloads, and
Yes.
we've all got a difficult. We're all
Mhm.
juggling. We're juggling so many things, and people we often don't tell other people what we're juggling, do we, Sarah? I mean, you're in Germany. We just get on with it, don't we? We just do.
So I love this example, Irma, because we have a project right now where we're looking at this. I think this is fascinating stuff, right? You're in the same building and you don't get up to do this. There's lots of
Yes.
examples from my research. One of my research projects is all about this. Like, so people are making a choice, right? I'm making a choice of I could join online or I could join face to face. So I can't
Hmm.
speak for this woman, like what was going on. Probably to Valerie's, right? There's a lot going on, and she thought, quick and dirty. I'm gonna waste so much time getting up, going there, coming back. We will have a chit chat in between. I can't afford the chit chat in between the meetings, so I'm just gonna crack on, show up, and then leave. Right? It does give you more control because it's like you hang up, and you can no longer ask me questions or have a follow up conversation. Right? If I hang up, it's over. So I have a lot more control of that interaction. And
Mm.
in this research project, it's really fascinating. So people comment similar things, right? So somebody might ask a question of someone else, while both of them are in the office, they can see each other across the floor. They still choose
Yes.
to ask each other questions on a Teams channel or on a chat, right? Why is that? Like some of the answers I'm getting is like, well, I need an answer to this question, but I don't need it right now. So I don't want to bother the other person. So I just want to signal to the other person, I have a question and an answer, but I don't want to disrupt the workflow. So again, the technology gives us the possibility of controlling when we interact and how we interact, what interaction
Mm.
for long or
Hmm.
not.
Those choices, eh? We're full of choices now, and we need to manage those choices. For some people, I've worked in big organizations where I've gone floor walking because I'm a trainer, hey? And people, I've gone, so around, and they go, I don't know. Well, I got a desk number. He sits next to you, and they've gone, yeah, I don't know him though. I mean, it depends. I think it's really important to understand, or to get to know people and how to understand how they like to work. Some people don't like to be bombarded or big stopped, but I like to wander around and find out stuff because I'm basically curious and a little bit
Hmm.
nosy at times.
I think it is, and now it isn't a technology. It is the individual, the person, the human person. And the reason I say this, because I had to manage a team that were completely fractious. They had 5 managers who had come in over a 2-year period, who'd all left, 5 managers in 2
Ooh,
years. That's
ooh,
high turnover. And they were middle-aged women, very, very independent, very forceful, and held the whole company to ransom, this unit. And I went in there. I said, I'm happy to work with them. We went in there, we sat down at a meeting, and they came in armed for a fight. And I said to them, no questions are off this table. Whatever you want to talk about, wherever, whenever, however, bring it to this table. If I can't answer it, I'll find you the answers. And the energy dissipated instantly.
they felt heard.
Within the team, they were not talking to one another. And there was a lot of
Mm.
friction because every one of them, each and every individual was a powerhouse. And then we did the simplest thing, basic thing, team building.
Woo-hoo.
Team building. And at the end of it, these women were glowing. They were just on fire. So is it about the technology or is it about the individual? I don't want to face this person who decided to sit in the office and go by teams. For whatever reason, I couldn't be bothered to go downstairs to sit in, and it's my job role on an important annual review.
Yeah. So tech, as we know, can be used as a bit of an excuse not to connect face to face. I
Yes.
think it's important. I think any new project I work on, I always want to see the people face to face and get to know them, even though some of the work behind it will be virtual online, because I want to build a bond and a rapport. And also, if we have issues, then they're easier to resolve and people feel heard and valued, which is where we're going
Mm.
with all of this, really, isn't it? Sarah, you're nodding as well, hey?
Yeah, because I think you're bringing up examples where the face-to-face might still be very important, right? When there is, at the beginning of a project, when there's conflict among team members, right? Bringing people into the room, then it's really important. I think there is value in doing that. But it is a relationship that is ongoing that, we just wanted to catch up next week. We could do this again virtually, right? There's as long as there's the trust and there's a good working relationship, I think the location, whether it's at home or in the office, won't matter. But it is super helpful to have
Mm.
these original touch points to really connect with people, get to know them, understand them, have these prolonged periods of time where we can actually talk about other things that is not just work, right? Like to understand what motivates the other person, what drives them, what are they interested in.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Valerie pointed out it's the human connection, building working relationships. That is key. That is critical. And it matters a lot that your boss or your line manager, whoever, can turn to you and say, excellent job. When they say it to you face to face, it has much, much more depth and meaning
Yeah,
and boosts you better than when you get it on an email or even via Zoom. There's something about human connectivity that we cherish.
absolutely.
And when we came out of lockdown, people breathed a sigh of relief that I am still alive because why? I can connect to the next person. Someone smiled at me.
Yeah, I can go
I
out.
had so much of that. Yes, I had so much of that. I'm living again. I'm alive again. And when again, we communicate 80% or a little bit more of our communication is non-verbal. It's non-verbal. It is non-verbal. Tone, expression, even attitude, gestures. People say, oh, she said hello, but it was, she didn't, that wasn't a genuine hello.
Oh, ooh, that's another podcast.
Yes. Human connection. In amongst the hybrid, we find that loneliness and disconnect is there because the human connection is not being maintained, it's not being sustained, it's not being preserved. So when we're doing the change management, there has to be that, and if it's by postcodes or by zone, street codes, this there has to be some connection.
It's a great idea.
We're part of a community, we're part of a work community.
Absolutely.
It's not nameless and faceless, which is a lot of that is going on at the moment. Emails, nameless, faceless. Yeah. So while we're learning and changing, we have to see how we can insert that, how we can preserve that, how we can continue, because humanity isn't going anywhere. Technology is going to change in another 5 years. I guarantee you
Absolutely.
that.
Sooner than that, probably.
They're going to have something else coming up. As someone said to me,
Oh, yeah.
AI,
Go.
AI, we ain't seen nothing yet. I said, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, what can we do to help, to advise we can offer to help people to understand hybrid work and learning now? What are we going to have a couple of key messages, Sarah and Irma, that we'd like to, push out there? What do you think? 1 point or 2 points? Change management?
I would say change management. It's individual to company and to profession. So manage that change, talk to,
Yeah.
find ways that work, street code.
Yeah.
Does it work to have a buddy, what do you call it? A colleague buddy that is on your team and you meet regularly, consistently, and then feed up, it's a what you call it? An open playing field now.
Sure. I agree it is.
And they need to level that. Yeah. And it's a dialogue that has to continue to find solutions.
Sarah?
I think, the learning one, right? Because we're all in learning. I think when possible to bring people, for when we're doing formal learning, if possible, to actually bring people together. I think there is value in bringing people in a room together, going through that shared experience, building new connections. So onboarding, I think, is super. Valerie, you were talking earlier about, who you hire and trusting them. I
Yep.
think creating a face-to-face onboarding process where people can connect to other people across the organization super helpful. In terms of larger, not just learning, I don't think all learning has to happen face to face, right? We are learning in a digital platform, but I do think learning that is supported with the face to face is a much better learning experience than learning that is just digital or self-driven. I think there's been a big push about this, like self-development, self-driven, do it yourself kind of tools. And we know that learning is a social process. We learn through others and with others, right? So I think bringing the social aspect that you guys have been talking about a lot, right? This connecting, this belonging, bringing that social aspect into all the learning opportunities in an organization and being very intentional about it. I think it's really important. I also think, and I'll go just to you, Valerie, in a second, but I also think that really reconsidering what people need to do on an office and what can be done remotely or from home, and really thinking deeply. I think earlier in the conversation we were talking about brainstorming. I think brainstorming is probably one of those things where it's still better to be face to face, because just like we're experiencing right now, it's very hard to talk over one another. We're constantly interrupting each other. The mics get overlapped, so the technology is not quite there for what we're doing, which cannot be replicated when it's happening face to face, right? So I think companies have to be much more intentional about, like, what is it that we want people to do in our physical offices and what things that can be done offline. Valerie, what do you think?
I think that learners, or we call them learners, we've got anybody who's in our environment really, that we're all learning every day. I think we need to have we need to have the voice to say, yeah, I'm going to take ownership for my learning, but this is how I like to learn, or this is what will work better for me. And it's all about communication and open dialogue and trying to be flexible and also get a great job done.
Yeah, this is true. And also be sensitive or mindful of who you're employing, as you said, a recruitment process. So women, coming into the workforce, more and more women. And, if they go off and want to have families, start a family, where does that sit?
Well, we've all got 5 generations work in the workforce, and on top of that, I mean, as our learned leader Andrew would say, I've got an iPhone that's older than some of the newest recruits we've got. So, I mean, it just says it all. I could talk forever, but I guess we need to wrap this up for the man. Thank you so much. Thank you, Irma. Thank you, Sarah. This has been an absolute delight, and thank you to all our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
It's been amazing. It's been amazing, ladies. I've learned so much from both of you. It's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What came through from our guests? That change management actually matters, not as a box-ticking exercise, but as something you have to get right. That there's a genuine tension between giving people flexibility and keeping some organisational grip on things. And that trust sits underneath all of it. Without it, none of the hybrid stuff really works. If you're trying to make sense of this hybrid era, whether you're leading a team or a part of one, these are the things worth paying attention to. A massive thank you to Sarah, Valerie and Irma for their insight into this topic and for their time in making this a brilliant recording. Their details are in the show notes, along with information about how to connect with us here at Women Talking About Learning and the Podcast Learning Festival next month. Remember to like and subscribe to the podcast on your podcast player. It really does make a difference in helping people find and recommend us, so hit that 5-star button. We'll be back in a couple of weeks, and next time it's the appearing on video one. As always, thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.